roll right to the Michigan Ohio State game then here. Because both teams are 11-0, and at Saturday at noon on Fox, we will probably get to see Klatt and Gus Johnson, baby.
Klatt and Gus, yep, they're calling the game.
So it's one of the most bitter rivalries, obviously, in all of sports, not just college football. And the Wolverines are going to head to the Shoe to take on the Buckeyes. What's the things to look for both teams?
Well, I mean, I think for both teams, mostly Michigan, is the health of both running backs, and
That's the same for the Buckeyes too, if you really think about it.
For both teams, though, yeah, health of the running back rooms on both teams. Michigan, health of some guys up front. I expect pretty much everybody that was hurt to play. I don't know how healthy they're going to be, though.
Mum is always the word with Jim Harbaugh and injury.
They're not going to say anything. I think the way I look at Harbaugh is if he knew for sure it's a serious injury. If it's a serious injury long term, then he'll tell you. If not, he's usually not going to say anything, especially leading
like 4 weeks to say something on Eric Hall.
Well, I think they were weighing their options, right? Until he was like, "All right, I'm going to have surgery." But I think we're at the point now where there's no reason. I mean, we'll find out on Saturday. There's no reason to be putting anything out there.
Thing is, they've dressed a lot of players and still are not putting them out there.
Sure, and I think it just depends on practice too. And I think some guys are just held out precautionary. I mean, that sounds like who was out? Schoonmaker dressed and was ready to go and didn't.
Well, play. Trente Jones actually played a snap, but I think Carson Barnhart has the job now.
He was on the field goal team the whole time. So
yeah, Carson Barnhart has the job now.
Yep. So I think Barnhart mostly has a job now. Although if they bring in an extra lineman, I'm sure it'll be Trente Jones. And the fact that he's healthy enough to play is a good sign. Just you never know, just in case. I think they'll probably get Keegan back. And I would expect
huge. That's remarkable. I mean, El Hadi's been pretty good this year, but
yep. And I think if they get 70% Donovan Edwards and Blake Corum, I think that's better than most running backs around. But they just got to be able. Those are the things I'm looking at. The health before the game is who's dressing and who's playing, and then during the game Michigan.
I think we have to. It's going to be the same recipe as last year. You have to score early and often.
Yep.
Yeah, and then get pressure on the quarterback.
Because Michigan's been real good at like scripting the first drive, coming out like and playing. Especially last week, it was perfect, like exactly what you wanted. Great start, and then they've kind of like settled in and gotten to a little bit of a lull offensively sometimes. It's just like, do they have enough in the game plan? And I think they will. I don't know, but the question is, do you have enough to execute it? Do they have enough in the game plan to go to different things and go to different answers when the defense adjusts to what we were trying to do early? And I think they will, but it's just, can you execute it? And can the receivers and the quarterback execute it right now? Because they've just been off lately. So if they can get back to kind of a little bit more of that precision passing that they had earlier in the year, I don't think they necessarily have to go deep all the time. Everybody wants to, but they need to be able to hit the
they're gonna hit the big play when it's open, though.
Yeah, hit it when it's open. And if it's not open, just take the 10 yards underneath. But the problem is, if you're also missing the 10 yards underneath, then you have problems, right? Or you have drops on things.
That's happening. That's the problem. I don't want everyone just to make JJ McCarthy certainly missed throws, and we can't just excuse all of it. But like at the same time, wide receiver route running has been not ideal. Drops have been an issue.
Yeah.
These receivers don't get great separation. So I mean, Ronnie Bell has pretty much been the top receiver because he's making ridiculous catches too. And Ronnie Bell's had his share of gaffes. I think Andrew Anthony has probably been one of the biggest disappointments this year. We expected him to take a huge jump, and route running and drops have plagued him. So we've talked about injuries with the Michigan running backs, Corum Edwards, but obviously Mayan Williams and Travion Henderson are dealing with leg injuries as well. They're questionable, obviously, because Ryan Day's going to be mum about who's playing as well. Thankfully for them, Dallin Hayden's been really good in their place. Jackson Smith and Jigba also is just pretty sore right now.
I don't.
Their starting
Yeah,
guard.
he hasn't played in like 3 or 4 weeks now, Smith and
Yeah.
Jigba. So I don't know. I mean, does he make a
It
comeback?
could
I
be the
mean,
same thing that Harbaugh is doing though, trying to rest him for the what
yeah,
matters.
does he make a comeback just for this game though? Because I've heard like he was looking at like just preparing for the draft. Um, but you never know. I mean, I don't know. If there's a game to make a comeback, this is the one that guys are probably going to do that for. So,
Their starting guard Matt Jones also went out against Maryland towards the end of the game, so
yep,
that's a question. They have Enoch Vamahi and Josh Fryer that could replace him there.
yep.
And then I have other notes. I also noted that Ryan Hayes said in a press conference it's going to be hard not
Did
having
you
Blake
hear the
Corum.
question though? Did you hear the question though? They asked him, "What do you guys do if Blake Corum doesn't play?" And he goes,
Oh,
"Oh, well, we're gonna adjust because we're good. If he's not out there, we're fine." Or whatever he said. I read the quote.
he said something about with him not out there. He's a great player, but everyone else will have to step up in the game.
Right. So I think the question kind of led to the answer. You know what I mean? Not it could be, who knows? But I think he's going to give it a go. I mean, the fact that he came back into the game last week,
He played one snap after it and then went right back
he
out,
had 2
right?
snaps. He had one in pass protection too, and he had the one carry. So the fact that he even came back tells me that I think he's going to give it a go now. And he was walking around delivering turkeys the day after. So I
Yeah.
think he's okay. It's just whether or not, is he good enough to have a huge impact, right? Um,
I think
so
if Donovan Edwards is even 95%, like it sounds like he's got a possible broken bone in his hand from what I
right.
read.
Yep.
Um, and I don't know how they're going to move forward with that, but Donovan Edwards is going to be a huge part because he's also one of the better receivers. So if you get him as a receiving option, that might help McCarthy a little bit more.
I
Um,
agree. I agree.
the last two things I have is that Michigan has played 7 of the 35 least productive offenses in the FBS. Michigan State is almost in that window as well. Penn State's 37th best offense is the best one they've played all year, and Maryland is the closest to a dangerous passing attack that they've seen. So this is going to be a wake-up call for the
The
defense,
biggest test. I think it was, but
certainly. And Mike
yeah,
Morris, what should be hopefully ready to go.
yeah, he
That's
was
going to be
dressed.
huge.
He was
Was he
dressed and
dressed?
warmed up. Yeah, he
Okay.
dressed and warmed up. So
So
he
the
even
pass
said
rush is
it.
going to need to be all out necessary, like we saw last year with Aiden Hutchinson and Ojabo just terrorized Stroud last year.
Mhm.
And so if we get some kind of, maybe it won't be identical terror because those are superstars, but if we get Yabioki, Chris Jenkins, Bonzi Smith, Braden McGregor, obviously Mike Morris and Taylor Upshaw and Derek Moore, if we get just those people that just can rotate in there and create some chaos for Stroud, get him out of rhythm. I think that can bode well
He
for
struggles
Michigan as
under
well.
pressure. He struggles under pressure, but I'm just interested to see what both these teams have kind of kept everything pretty vanilla for the most part all year long. Not all year long, but for the most part, they've kept everything kind of pretty simple. I'm just interested to see both teams like kind of open everything up if they can. How much are they able to? Because I feel like Michigan will have quite a few things up their sleeve that we haven't seen or haven't seen all of or haven't seen in a while. They usually do for this game. Harbaugh generally has had really good game plans for this game. It's just whether or not they can put it together
Execute.
and execute
Yeah.
it. I mean, even the game John O'Korn played against Ohio State, the game plan was incredible. I mean, it was John O'Korn, so he just couldn't execute it, right? And the fact that they were even in that game is a testament to how good that game plan was. I just think, so I'm excited about that. And then it's just, hey, I mean, this one's for all the marbles. This is it right here. Um, you worry about some things, but we were worried about a ton of stuff going into last year's game, and none of it really came to fruition. I mean, some of it sure, but none of it was none of it really came out as as some of the stuff that we were worried about. Michigan essentially handled that game. So can Ohio State match Michigan up front? Have they made enough strides in that and that's on that side on the lines, both sides of the ball to match Michigan.
The
Michigan's
other
gonna
thing and this is just a small point and maybe a moot point, but Tyler Morris, has he moved to like the 5th wide receiver?
play quite a bit. Yeah, I know he hasn't gotten really targeted much, but he's played quite a bit.
AJ Henning got 0 offensive snaps his last game.
He didn't play at all because Ronnie Bell was a punt returner. He was hurt.
Yeah, and then he had 3 against Nebraska. His season high was 21 against Indiana and 18 against Rutgers were his top 2. But then you also had a Morian Walker and Darius Clemens and Peyton O'Leary that were also playing ahead of Tyler Morris. And just like that, now Tyler Morris has moved back in. He's had 17 offensive snaps in the last couple games. So
and
he's out there.
Yeah, he's out there. I don't know. It's the question is, are they going to rise that moment? This is a pretty young team overall still. I mean, I know they have they're older up front, which has kind of led them, and older in the backfield with Corum, but they are and they're pretty old at receiver at certain spots, but they're a young team as far as depth wise. So a lot of their pieces that play a lot are freshmen and sophomores. So are those guys ready to kind of rise up and to the challenge? Is JJ ready to rise up to the challenge? I think talent wise, he's obviously there. It's just can he kind of lead this team to maybe not necessarily put him on his back, because I don't think that he needs to do that type of thing, but it wasn't as bad as he played last week. I wouldn't even say he played bad. I just don't think it was his best game by any means. It was still impressive to see him lead them down the field twice with basically an island of misfit toys on offense. Yeah, he missed some throws. Yeah, he missed a couple of reads, but he still got him down the field and won the game on 2 different drives. So that was good. I think that's a confidence builder for him. So if you can build on that and get everybody back and maybe rely on the run game a little bit and see what we can do, I think there's a chance. I think last year I don't think I picked Michigan to win on the podcast, but
neither of us did. Yeah.
I don't really think I can even this year either. I would love to, but I just don't see it on the road in Columbus. I see it more as like a 35-24 Ohio State win, something like that.
So that's a really good prediction. Oh man. Yeah. So I am also riding the intangibles is playing in Ohio State. It's a rough year to do it because I almost do think that this would be another Michigan win if they're playing it in the Big House.
I think it would be.
Because to me, like JJ even said in his post-game interview, it feels like it's a better team even than last year. It's a lot of ways.
In a lot of ways, I think it is a better team. I just don't know.
I mean, obviously you're minus the superstar edge rushers, which was huge in the Ohio State game.
Yep.
And then you had a healthy Hassan Haskins in that.
That's what I mean. I think the health of the running backs is what I'm most worried about.
And I don't think there's any way we can say Corum will be 100%.
No,
even just look, Donovan Edwards probably not even 100%.
No.
And everyone's banged up. I mean, CJ Stokes might even be 90%. Who knows? But it's just, yeah, I know their running backs are suffering too, but Dallin Hayden has at least proven he's capable of a 200-yard game as much as anyone.
They've got the depth, a little bit more depth. Now I think CJ Stokes will be good, but they can kind of plug and play a little bit more with freshmen or like last year I felt like we had 3 running backs, right? Like if Donovan Edwards had to come in against Ohio State, I would have been like, oh, okay. Like Donovan Edwards was like Dallin Hayden is for them this year, right? But this year it's Corum and Edwards, and then there's a big fall off from those 2, right? After that. Stokes, right? And I think Stokes could be good in a year or 2 for sure. I think he's going to be really good eventually, but there's a fall off there. We don't have.
And then even after CJ Stokes, I think there's another deeper fall off.
Yeah, I agree. So that's something they're obviously having to build on, and I think the depth is there. I don't think it's bad depth, but it's not what Ohio State has this year.
It's not like our tight end depth. That's for sure. We could lose 4 tight ends and still feel good about it.
Yeah, I still feel all right with both tight ends, and I'm not worried about that.
But so yeah, that's a good. You said 35-24. I'm gonna say, I'll say 38-30. Ohio State.
Yeah,
in this
I
game.
can see it.
And I just hope it's not one of those things that comes down to he was short.
Yeah, I don't want any of that. But I mean, I will say this: I said Michigan's going to lose by 11, but I'm still confident in Michigan. That's a weird thing. I felt the same way last year. I'm still
I think they at least showed us even last year. We went in not confident last year that we have the reason to be confident.
Yeah, and I
because of
think,
the
but I
game
think
plan,
even
because of
last year I was
execution.
still confident in the team. I just didn't know how they matched up, right? And I'm kind of that's the way I am this year. I'm confident that the team firing on all cylinders. I'm confident that they can beat Ohio State, and I think they could easily beat Ohio State if they're playing their best of their ability. But are they healthy enough, and do they match up well enough with these Ohio State receivers? Mainly just Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm not as concerned about the other guys. I mean, Abuka's good.
Ibuka, yeah, and then
But
Sterling.
no,
I can think of
it's number four.
Shepard.
It's number four. He's not that good. I'm not that impressed by him.
Yeah, well, to me, so the last year their denominators to their success were, I mean, the offensive line, which they have a better offensive line this year if everyone's healthy. Trevor Keegan coming back, that's going to be huge.
Julian Fleming is the other guy.
Yeah, Julian. Yep, correct. Yep. So I think offensive line was a big reason for their success last year. Hassan Haskins just blowing people over was a big reason for success. I don't think that's not a thing we're going to have this year unless somehow Quorum is 100%.
Right. Or if he just has one of those games, like an out of body experience. And I think I talked about, I don't know if I did on the podcast, but I talked about leading up to the game. Like it had been a very long time in this game, right? It had been a very, very long time since Michigan could say their best player went out there and had like one of the best games of his career or the best game of his life in this game, right? And typically, Charles Woodson used to talk about it all the time. Typically, that has to happen in order for you to win this game, right? If you have a Charles Woodson, he has to dominate, right? If you have a running back like Hassan Haskins, he's got to have a crazy game like that, right? We needed all five of those touchdowns, well, at least four of those touchdowns last year to win, right? Aiden Hutchinson had
Well,
to
last year
be
we single-handedly made it so that Bryce Young won the Heisman over CJ Stroud.
right.
We
Aiden
exposed
Hutchinson
him.
had to have like his best game of his career at Ohio State against Ohio State, right? So this year you got to say, okay, who's going to have that, right? Is it Blake Corum, right? Can he somehow limp his way to the best, one of the better
We don't have
games,
Hutchinson or Ajabo this year either, so Mike
right?
Morris is going to have to play well, and
Or
Yaviyoki is going to have to be
is
effective.
it
Mozzie
look
Smith.
is it JJ though? Does JJ just go out there and they just let him loose and it's time to
Never
go?
out of the question that JJ could go
Never out
off.
of the question, right? Or does he run the ball like crazy? Like that's what you need to have in this game in order to win. You got to have these guys kind of rising up their level
And
of
showing
play.
something that they have, like JJ running the ball like crazy.
Either
That's
haven't
something he's
before
shown
or
flashes.
maybe they
Now.
have before, but just at another level is what we're thinking.
Yeah.
What I'm thinking, right? A receiver making big plays like crazy. We need that needs to happen in order to win this game. And I don't know because in the previous years, like it can't just be like, oh, we schemed them out schemed them, or oh, we just we had the perfect defense for them or whatever. No, like guys got to go out there and really, really, really make some plays. And that's what happened last year. See if it happens again this year. So
Yeah, it'll be fun. So we'll be back next week then to talk about this recap of the game and
Lions recap too.
Yeah, and talk about Thanksgiving and
hopefully they get the win, man. It could be a really cool weekend for the 6-3 sports fandom.
Sure. All right, we'll see you next week.
Sad too, though.
We'll go back to baseball.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see you, man.
See you.